All right, thank you very much. My name is Daniel Idiare, and I am the CEO of Vastiscape and also the CEO, CTO Luxuria, as I was introduced. I am a web and business developer with a very deep passion for learning, like we mentioned, and I am also a student at the Kazan Federal University. So I'm going to talk about my personal experience, my personal journey with Vastiscape. I have actually worked with a couple of startups apart from Vastiscape, includes Luxuria and a couple of other startups. In fact, my entrepreneurial journey started very early from when I was 16. I had started with a delivery service called ReadyGo. And even though it never fully took off, it gave me a lot of the experience that I now share and that I use with my other startups. ReadyGo was very interesting because it was at one time, that was before I got into university, and I was working with a friend to deliver food services to employees who worked at offices, okay? And we came up with this idea that what if we could deliver food from fast foods like Mr. Biggs and KFC and the others to people who were employed and who could not go out to get their lunch themselves. And we worked this idea and we were able to do something with it, but it never really took off because I had to leave for the university. But then I also had this very wonderful idea. It was Varsity Escape. And it didn't exactly start as what it is now. What is Vastiscape now? Vastiscape is an online peer-to-peer sharing platform that connects students to articles, study resources, adverts, and student communities. Students on the platform can post updates and get questions about school life and academics, and get answers to their questions in groups and forums. We also have the premium Vastiscape Academy, that is an online university of in-demand skills for people looking to upskill in order to change their careers, secure a job, or start a business. But how did it all start? It started with an idea, okay? With an idea. And this idea was very simple. It started off as an idea for an aggregator website. And, you know, that's why you got to ask people, you got to have these customer interactions with people, because my hopes of ever building that aggregator website, which would collect news from different other websites and accumulate them into one. My hopes of building that were shattered when somebody asked me, what's the difference between what you're trying to build and Google? I mean, why should I come to your website to check for listings of articles when I have Google? Why not I just check Google? And that's one interesting point, because you can have a very wonderful idea. To you, it's a very good idea, but then it holds no practical value, right? In the real sense of it, holds no practical value. So I had to ditch the idea, and I started working on something else. And this is what I we decided to do. I decided to do personally. Rather than just scraping websites and aggregating them into one, why not ask people to actually create the content? Okay, create the content, articles, study materials. And in fact, this content, where we're going to scrape them from if they are not there in the first place. And so that's why we moved from just being an aggregator website to that platform where people can post their articles and also read articles from other people. And then people can also post study resources and get study resources from other people. We also inculcated the communities where people can join groups and forums and they can interact with one another. And that's how Vastiscape really took off. But nothing really happened at the early stages, okay? Nothing really happened. The thinking process started in 2017, and I began to ask lots of questions. I asked friends, I asked mentors those questions. I asked people what they thought of the idea. Now, that's not the best question to be asking, but it was what I did. And to an extent, it saved me the stress. The fact that I was asking questions in the first place saved me the whole stress of building something that people would not want. I did buy the domain name in February 2019, Vastiscape. I was actually thinking of another name, but when I wanted to check the domain name, it was taken. So I started combining words together, and I finally went with Vastiscape. Okay. That's something you really need to think about when you're thinking of a name for your startup. Just go and check if it's still available on whatever domain name platform you want to acquire it on. And uh, it was really an interesting process. Okay, it was really an interesting process. I'd like to cut myself at this point to say, if you have questions at the end, I will give time for those questions, and I have some questions myself that I would like to answer that are usually asked based on my opinion, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, so one thing that really worked for me was attending a Branepa summer campus in July 2019. And I did meet a lot of people who were business inclined. And that's why I really value events and forums like this, because they expose you to things that you didn't know, and they make you understand that even the things you thought you knew are not exactly accurate. Okay, so in this conference, I did meet a lot of people, and my thinking from there expanded. And I started thinking about things like how to write a business plan. Now, that's one of the questions that we'll answer at the end, if writing a business plan is actually important. But I did write one. And I was thinking about how to present my idea to other people. So you have an idea. How do you communicate this idea to other people? How do you document it? How do you make it a business? Because the topic we have today is how to start a company. Also, I'd like to ask, am I too fast? If the speed is okay, then I can continue. Is it okay? The speed?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So I, I, I wrote a business plan in August 2019. And that was when I actually began to think as a business. Before then, I was thinking of a website that would be somewhere and people would, for some reason, find it and they would use the website. That's how the thought process was in the beginning. But now I began to think as someone who actually wanted to start a business. So I began to think about stuff like marketing operations, how exactly we were going to raise funds, how exactly we were going to make money, and how exactly we were going to move from point A to point B. And I documented all of that in our early version of the business plan, which we have revised over time. And it's something that happens in business. And then the important thing was we finally started doing something. Now, here's a point I would like to raise. At the beginning, I started off by contracting somebody to build the website because I knew exactly what I wanted at that point in time, or so I thought, or so I thought, because that's the interesting thing. I thought I knew exactly what I wanted at that point, and so I contracted somebody to build the website. I had some money then, so I gave out the money. But for some reason, the website that they were building, the website that he built and his team built, did not resonate well with me. Okay. Now, I would like to mention that you should not outsource the early stages of development to other people, because when you do that, they'll keep on asking for more money. For every change that you'll have to iterate over, which you will iterate over, you have to spend money. Okay. So there are two things you can do there. You can develop the skills that are necessary to build the product that you want to sell, or you can find a co-founder. You can confide in a co-founder. And these are these are the two options that I recommend. If you have lots of money, you can actually hire people to do the job. But the thing is, they will just keep going over and over it, and you keep spending money. Okay, so you want to either develop the the skills that are necessary to build the product that you want to build, or you want to find somebody who can build that product, but coming on the team as a co-founder. And for me, it was both. Okay, so I started building the product myself. I started working on the website myself. I looked for the tools that would be necessary to work on the website. I'm a web developer, but at that point, I was thinking that I was not going to be able to cope because like I mentioned, I'm also a student. And it turned out very well. I mean, I moved faster when I decided to take work into my hands than when I paid somebody else to do the job. Because for me, it was a passion. For me, it was something I wanted to do. For the other person, it was just another client saying, "Where's my job?" Okay. So that's something you want to really keep in perspective. Can you build the product that you want to build? And if you can't build the product, can I find somebody who can build it? And are they ready to come on the team with me? And I think that's the first test, because if you cannot find somebody who's willing to risk whatever they have at this point to build the product that you want to build, then it's a sign that there's not really much weight in it. And I started off with a team. I kicked off the team. We were 9 at the beginning. We had people who were marketers, who were ready with operations, and we had different teams. Okay. Now let me go on to explain the things I think we did right and the things I think we did wrong. Because not exactly wrong, but we could have done differently. Okay. So what do I think we did right? The thinking phase. So the thinking phase was done properly, in my opinion. Now, there definitely would have been more thought to it, but what you don't know. And the knowledge comes with experience. The knowledge comes with time. So you also want to enjoy that experience. But I appreciate the fact that we did think through it. I spent time writing the business plan, and it involved a whole lot of thought process. Okay. And the other thing I think we did right is I started doing something. So rather than waiting for a freelancer to build a website, I started doing something myself. I raised a team. I did my share of research. Another important thing is I didn't give up. So I didn't say, okay, because I can't build what I want, because I'm not seeing results, I'm going to give up. I did not give up. And another thing I really appreciate very well at the beginning stages was I looked for funding early. And funding is one aspect of business that we overlook, but it's very important. In fact, a lot of startups fail because they don't have funding. A lot of startups fail because they cannot continue to sustain their growth. And we did look for funding early. At the beginning stages, we were able to raise about 12,000 US dollars. And I raised all of this from friends who actually believed that we were going somewhere. And for me, that was a very big indicator that people could actually believe in this thing to invest their money and their time. And yes, I raised this from friends. Now, we were actually expecting some growth at that point, but it did not come as expected, partially because of the coronavirus pandemic. I wouldn't want to blame that entirely, but it did play some role. Okay. But there's a point I want to raise here, and that is don't raise money. Um, don't raise money to start your startup by getting a loan. Okay, you can actually get a loan, but it's very tricky because you could run into serious problems and things may not go as planned. And if these people are not your friends, they're going to frustrate you that you quickly go out of business. So one advice I'd like to give here is if you're raising money, raise money, most especially at the initial stages, raise money from friends, people you trust, and people who will be patient with you, not just anybody, okay? Now, there are some things that we did not exactly do well, and it happens everywhere. But I think the major flaw is that we did not attack some of these issues on time. So the first one is that the team started to involve a lot of people who were very inactive. So because we were 9 people at the beginning, we had a lot of people who were very smart, who were skilled, but because they were engaged with other activities, they became very inactive. And it really does hurt the enthusiasm of the team. If you have people who are not doing anything yet, they have stakes in your company, and then other people who are doing something. Those people who are doing something going to feel cheated. Okay, so what you want to do is make sure that if you have people on your team, they are doing something. There's one quote that we hear in entrepreneurship, um, and they say hire slowly but fire quickly. So you want to make sure that the people who you're bringing on your team are really committed to the task. But then anytime you notice the lack of enthusiasm, the drop of enthusiasm, you want to attack it with full force, not by raising up a query or firing immediately, but you want to make sure that those people are giving you your dedication. Those people are spending up to 20 hours thinking on your product, thinking of the idea per week. If they're not spending on up to 20 hours, you're doing your business a misfavor, because if you don't have people thinking or testing as much as possible in 1 week, then you're going to run into serious problems. Okay. Another thing I think we did wrongly was we were raising money, but we started to focus too much on finding VCs instead of building the business. So I was able to raise funds from, like I said, my friends and families, but we started to get too carried away with the business of raising funds, simply with a business idea, that we started to try out VCs. Okay, and this is the idea: don't approach VCs until you start generating some form of revenue. Don't approach VCs until you start generating some form of revenue. You can also approach angel investors, but it's also tricky too, because VCs want to see a return of investment over the next couple of years. And if you don't have that metric to show them that traction, you're either going to lose a big chunk of company, or you're never going to um, get in their favor. So for me as a VC, if I were a VC and I wanted to invest in your company and you're not making profit yet, if I'm putting investors' money into your business, it's a very big risk. So I'm going to ask you for 50%, 100%. And that happened to us at some point. We did get some VCs, but they were giving us too extravagant offers. And we didn't take them because we didn't want to lose the business, raising a small amount of money that wouldn't really take us anywhere. So don't spend too much time trying to find VCs when you have not generated traction. If you want to find money, if you want to raise money from your friends, raise money from your family, or raise money from yourself. You can take a job for a period of time to raise money before you start the business. Don't spend too much time on VCs. Okay, at the beginning stages at least. And then you want to spend a lot of time iterating over your business model. Your business at the beginning stages, the idea that you've come up with is going to be different from the product you have in a couple of years' time. So you want to be very flexible in your approach. At the beginning stages, Vastiscape wanted to make money by using the a similar model to Udemy, so the marketplace model. We wanted to bring instructors on board, and then they would host their courses on our platform, and they'll get a certain percentage anytime they sold those courses. Now, it's a very sustainable business model, but it's not one that's very easy to grow, because you have to face the chicken and egg problem. And so you either have to find the students first that will attract the teachers, or you have to find the teachers first that will attract the students. And, there was that issue. But we were not quick with the iteration. So we started contracting instructors, but most of them were already comfortable with their courses on other platforms like Udemy. And we weren't getting through with that. But we spent time iterating over that business model that we're not willing to try other things. Okay. And we did not start to think about monetization early. And this was partially my fault, because I tried at the early stages to make sure that we had a finished product before charging people for it. But you want to charge people for the product even before it's finished. You want to charge people for a prototype. That's the only way you can validate your business idea. Because if people are not willing to pay for it as a prototype, then there is hardly any chance they'll pay for it, even when you have a finished product. So we were waiting. We were just hoping that the hype that was created around the product was going to sustain it. But that's not really true. Hype is so much different from actual money. And then another thing that I could have done differently was not micromanaging. So I was micromanaging almost everything. I tried to get into the design process, the website. I could have focused on things that were much more specific to me and allowed the team to really run through the others. Now let's talk about this in actual detail, how to start your business. And businesses are different, okay? The way you build a small business is different from the way you build a large business. Okay. And you want to really ask yourself what kind of business you're about to start. What kind of business you're about to start. Is it a sole proprietorship? Are you just a freelancer? In that case, you're not building a company. Okay. If the only person in the company is you, if the only person in the business is you, it's not a company yet. It's a sole proprietorship. And then there are partnerships and all that, but we're talking about building a company. Okay. So the first thing you want to do in building your business is I think it can go both ways. So you want to do personal evaluation or you want to get a business idea. Some people start from the business idea, some people start from the personal evaluation. Anyone that comes first is okay. So let me talk about the personal evaluation. You want to ask yourself, what kind of business do I want to build? Where do I see this business in the next 5 years? Be would I still want to be in the game after this period of time? You want to ask yourself these important questions. Do I have the revenue to start this business? If I contact my friends, will they be willing to give up revenue to invest in my business? If not, how am I going to raise money for the beginning stages of this business? Okay, some start with a business idea. So you're walking and then you get the eureka. Yes, what if I could build this to solve this particular problem? Now, I'll give you a warning. When you get a business idea like that, you really want to scrutinize it. Okay, I told you the first business idea I had that led to Vastiscape was concept for an aggregator website. And Vastiscape is not an aggregator website, it's a community, a peer-to-peer sharing platform. Okay, so when you get a business idea like that, you want to take it, I would say, with a pinch of salt, because that idea is definitely going to change. You're going to iterate on that idea over time, because um, you're going to have to do research on it. You're going to have to do a lot of other things. So if you get a business idea, do your personal evaluation. If you want to start off with personal evaluation, like making the decision that you want to start a business, you're going to have to find a business idea to work with. So they work hand in hand. And then the next thing you want to do is the industry evaluation. Now, do you have the skill to build the product? That's what I talked about at the beginning. Do you have the skill to build the product? If you don't have the skill to build the product, then you have to find somebody there with the skill to build the product, and you want to bring them on the team as a co-founder. Okay. And then the next thing you want to do is research the market. Is the market ready for my product? Now, one of the most important thing, if you look at the trends of companies and when people build startups, is the concept of time. Okay, time. Facebook was not the only social media platform when it started up, but it came at a time where people were ready to take on social media platforms, and Facebook was successful. Look at other platforms too. There were different iterations of one product over time, but it's the company who came out the right time when the market was ready for it that saw success. So you want to ask yourself the question, if your market is ready to receive your business idea, to appreciate your business idea. And then the next thing you want to do is document your idea, because ideas change. So today you're thinking, this is how my website should look. And tomorrow you're thinking, okay, what if I add this? And then you begin to have this feature creep where you have new features coming into your product that you did not intend from the beginning. Okay. So document your ideas. It's important. I still look back to the very first versions of the business plan we wrote for Vastiscape, and I'm like, okay, some things have changed. But if I did not have those documentations, I might as well have thought, okay, maybe we're still going in the right path. And it's okay for things to change, okay? Documenting ideas does not mean you're not going to change things. You're not going to get new hypotheses, but it's going to give you a path. It's going to give you direction. You know that, okay, we've moved from here to here, and we're not just dancing around the bush. And then you want to validate your ideas with fact. This is where we talk about asking customers questions. Asking customers questions. How do you make customer interactions? How do you make customer interactions? You don't go about asking people, do you think my idea is good? Because people are generally nice. And if I were to ask you, how do you like my platform? You are most likely going to say, even if you don't like it, you're most likely going to say something that you think will not hurt my feelings. Okay. And you don't want to go ahead asking people, what do you think about this platform? Well, I did it, but it's not the best way to go about validating your ideas. The way you do it is you try to find out if your customers have the pain that you're trying to solve. So rather than asking about your solution that you're providing to them, keep your solution aside. Let's assume that solution does not exist yet, and um, ask them about the problem and how they currently solve that problem. If it's a really serious problem, okay, don't ask them, if I have an app that helps you um, make something wonderful, would you buy it? You're putting words in their mouth. They're probably going to say yes, or I think so. And by the time the product comes out and nobody's buying it, and you'll be like, I thought everybody said they were going to buy it. They were just trying to sound nice because they didn't want to hurt your feelings. So validate your ideas with fact. Well, how do you do this? You do this by sometimes by setting up a prototype. Okay. So you can set up a prototype and ask people to pay for that prototype. For example, you can set up a landing page. Dropbox started that way. They didn't build the product. They set up a landing page with a video that explained what the product will do. And they were already having people signing up. Okay. So you want to do something that will validate that idea. Even if it's a button on a landing page that's saying pay for this product, ask people to click on that button to pay. And then when they click on that button, redirect them to a page that says, okay, we're still in the beta stage, but just confirm that people are going to click on that link to actually pay for the product that you're selling before you actually go ahead. It's easier that way. And you can collect their emails, you can collect their phone number, so that when you launch again that prototype, you can get back to them and say, okay, check out this product, pay for it. And those will be your early users. Now, another thing I'd like to raise here is people really think that the way it works is you set up your business idea, you start up with your business idea and you set up your platform, and then everybody starts running towards you. No, it doesn't work that way. So you really have to iterate over your business idea over and over again. You really have to go through the product features. You really have to go through the styling. You really have to go through a lot of things, the overall process for your consumer. And that's only when you're going to arrive at the finished product. And you want to have customers that you're doing this with. Don't build a product in isolation and expect people to use it. So you want to engage customers from the beginning. You want to have, even if it's 1,000 people, 2,000 people, depends on the scale. So if you're building a platform for 1 million people, you want to have maybe 5,000 people who are using your platform at the initial stages. Of course, you don't want to launch you don't want to grow your errors. So you're launching with those 5,000 users and you're testing and you're checking out the retention rates to see if people are really using the platform, the useful metrics. Those are ways to validate your ideas even before launching the product on a large scale. On a large scale. And the next thing to do is finance your idea. Financing is something you should think of from day one. It's very important. It's something you should think of from day one, how you're going to do the financing. But then this is the time to actually put money into the business and to say, okay, yes, I am going to spend whatever cash I have, and so on and so forth. So if you have any questions, I'd like to take them. I do have some resources that I can recommend if you are looking to start a business. And I think that's all for now. If you have questions, I would love to take them. Thank you.
So are you done, Mr. Daniel, with your presentation?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Daniel, for this really magnificent and very interesting presentation, where you shed the light on how the person can be determined to fulfill his dream and overcome all the obstacles to make it come true. I believe your talk gave our audience some guidance and enthusiasm to work on their goals and never give up. Now, I would like to give the floor to our audience if they have any question. So, dear participants, if you have any question, please raise your hand in order to direct the question to Mr. Daniel. While they are preparing their questions, Mr. Daniel, I myself have a question for you. Actually, while listening to the presentation, you talked to us or to the audience, how did you build up this startup? But my concern or my question is, how was this idea born? What pushes you or pushed you to go to make a startup, to initiate a business? This is what, for me, what concerns you. If you would elaborate to me or describe the situation, how was it?
All right. So first of all, like I said, the whole thought process started about 2017. I was still a student at the University of Benin in Nigeria. Currently, I study in Kazan, Russia. I was still a student at the University of Benin, Nigeria, and I was looking for a platform, like a platform that has study resources, okay, that would enable me prepare for an examination. It was 2 months to the examination, and I couldn't find a study resource to prepare for the examination. It's different in different countries because different countries have their platforms to study materials. But I was looking for one that was specific to my university and in Nigeria, and I couldn't find anything. Okay, so I thought, what if we had a platform where you could just log on to, and that could give you any study resource that you needed, and that was really a very interesting idea. That was when I had that, like, this very first spark for VarsityScape. And when I came to Russia, that idea began to metamorphose, and I started to think about an aggregator website. So what I was thinking about the aggregator website was the website would scrape different platforms that already exist to find different study resources, to find different videos, and to accumulate them into one. Okay, and it would be there for students to use. But then after I asked somebody about the whole aggregator idea, and they were like, how's this different from Google? I was like, yes, that's true. If you're not creating the content, and if you're not allowing people add their content, you're really just acting as Google, because you're just republishing content. Okay, so that's why we changed. We moved from just considering the whole aggregator model to a peer-to-peer sharing platform that will enable people to both share study resources and also get access to them, and with the community and the articles and so on and so forth.
Okay, Mr. Daniel, I have a question. What were the main challenges that you faced through your startup journey? Starting with the right business model is an issue, and continuing it with the best strategies.
Okay, yes. One of the issues that we did find, that we did encounter, like I was going to mention, was the fact that our current market was on lockdown. So there was a lockdown situation in Nigeria, and people were not going to schools. People were not going to universities. And that was supposed to be our main audience. Our entire marketing operation was focused on this particular subset, and they were not allowed to go to universities at the time. So we were looking for ways to still raise funds or remain active during this period. And most of our campaign operations were supposed to be done physically. Okay, so we couldn't do that. We couldn't do all those campaign operations, and that was one of the issues that we faced at the beginning. How did we solve that? Rather than focus on the marketing operations at the time, we focused on rebuilding the product and doing most of the marketing online. About the business model, we realized that this was not going to be sustainable, and this was not going to work. Okay, when we began to reconsider our market, because it's not exactly a trend that people will create online courses in Nigeria. So we were looking at the market. We were really studying. We attended the Kazan OIC Youth Entrepreneurship Forum that's also sponsored by ICYF. And we got counsel, and we were able to go through the entire process of revamping our business model to really cater for the student needs. And that's how we came up with VarsityScape Academy. The VarsityScape Academy is now an online university of in-demand skills. So what we do is we have our own instructors. These instructors, they tutor students. We are the creators of the content. We can control the content. We no longer depend on other instructors to sign up to our platform before we have content. We have this content created, and we make this content premium content because we can now control the quality of the content and all that. So that's one of the changes. That's the major change that we've had so far in our business model. And it happened because we had help, and we were really willing and flexible to change.
Okay, another question. Throughout the whole processes of the startup or your business, how did you motivate yourself when you experience failure or when you try to face these challenges?
How did I motivate myself?
Yes.
Well, it was a very interesting process. Now, there's a quote I love very much, and it says, "Enjoy the process." So that's something that I always held on to at every point in time. Enjoy the process. Now, running Vastiscape and the other startups that I run has not been too much work for me because I ran them with my friends. So that's another thing you want to consider. The people you're building the startup with. If you're going into business with someone simply for business sake, you're most likely going to run into problems. So you want to go into business with people you actually trust and people who you are comfortable working with. You can build friendships and relationships, right, in groups and in circles. But that's one of the reasons why I could not just give up Vastiscape, because I was running this thing with my friends and we were not just going to let each other down. Okay. So that's one of the things that really I did hold on to. We were enjoying the process. We were focused on the process and we head on. True.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Daniel. Another question from your own experience. Once you have the best model, what should be the right way for young startups to continue with?
Once you have the right model and you have identified a particular customer segment that you want to focus on, that you want to target, the next step that you want to be taking is to watch out for growth. Okay, it's to watch out for growth. You want to watch out for consistent growth. You want to look at a growth rate of 10% from month to month. And one of the ways that you can achieve this growth is by working with your current audience. You want to look at retainment rates. It depends on what kind of business you're running, though. If you're running a SaaS company, a subscription as a service, or you're running a B2B company, you want to look at that consistent growth. Once you've identified the business model and you know that it works, you want to start making new hypotheses every day on how best to go about your operations. And you want to test those streams. Now, once you find a stream that works, do not deviate from that stream until you find another stream that you're comfortable with. So if you find a revenue generating stream, if it's social media or search, I'm assuming you're running a tech company and maybe search is the major driver for growth. Don't stop doing what you're doing to increase your search engine optimization. Don't stop what you're doing on social media. Focus on that path of growth until you find another channel to work with. And as soon as you get something that's working based on industry standards, you can always check out what works for you, that you're not spending too much and you're actually making profit. You want to keep working on that and you want to scale that over a period of time.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Daniel, for your answers and replies. Actually, the time is over, and I would like to thank you again for being with us today. And I would like to thank all the audience for being here as well, and for the organizers and for my team helping us on this session. So thank you very much again, and see you, inshallah, in future programs.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome. Wish you all the best.
All right. Thank you.